Okay, so we are now going to do the final problem on exam review 2, and this is problem number 5. And this is what it says. Harlan Company uses the periodic inventory system to account for inventories. Information related to Harlan Company's inventory at January 31 is given below. So they're giving you all the information in the chart there. But before we go into the problem, I want to remind you of this sheet here with the directions, okay? So the questions you want to ask yourself is number 1, what type? Remember, you're only figuring one type at a time. So it's either FIFO, LIFO, or average costing. The second one is, what do you want to know? Do you want to know cost of goods sold? Do you want to know ending inventory? Or do you want to know both? If both, you are always going to solve for the one the problem asks for first, and then do the other one. And you need to know how many of each. How many units of each? I should probably put that. How many units? Units of each. You need to third, find your direction, and fourth, solve the problem. So remember over here, we have our little map here, right? If it's FIFO and you want to know ending inventory, you're going to count from the bottom up until you get to your ending inventory number of units. If it's cost of goods sold, you're going to count from the top down until you get to the number of units sold. For LIFO, if it's ending inventory, you're going to count from the top down until you get to the number of units you have in ending inventory. If it's cost of goods sold, you're going to count from the bottom up until you get to the number of units you have in ending inventory. Okay, so that's just a reminder. You need to have that on your note cards for the test. You need to have that on there because when you get in the test, your mind's going to go blank. So you want to make sure you have that on your note cards, okay? All right. So we are going to go over here and we are going to do the problem, right? So this on the screen here is my representation of the problem for problem number 5 for Harlan Company, okay? And so it shows here the date. It shows the, just adjusting here, shows you the beginning inventory, the purchases, and then it shows you the total number of units available for sale was 2,000. And the total cost of all the units available for sale was $25,040. Okay. So, number 1, compute the ending inventory using FIFO cost assumption if 650 units remain on hand at January 31. So, we're going to do FIFO. We're calculating for ending inventory. So, we go back over to our map. What do we want? FIFO, or what's our type FIFO? What do we want to know ending inventory? What's our direction? Bottom up. So our direction is bottom up for FIFO. So we're going to go bottom up for FIFO, okay? All right. So I'm going to do it right here on the screen. Am I recording? Yes, okay. All right, so FIFO, bottom up until we get to the number of units sold. No, we're doing ending inventory. Till the number of units that remain on hand. So the number of units in ending inventory. So we're going to go from the bottom up until we get to 650. So we have on the 24th, we have 200 units at $13.24 each for a total of $26.40. Okay. So how much more do we need to get to 650? We need 450 units more. So we're going to go to the next line above on January 16th. We're going to see there's a total of 600 units there, right? Well, we don't need all 600 units, okay? We only need 450 units from there. So we're going to take 450 units at $12.80 each for a total of $57.60. So now we have our total number of units, 650, and the total cost of those units in ending inventory is $8,400. Okay. So that is FIFO ending inventory for 650 units. Okay. All right. So now we're going to go to number 2. And number 2 says, compute the ending inventory using the weighted average cost method if 650 units remain on hand at January 31. Now remember, the weighted unit has nothing to do with the direction sheet, right? The weighted unit only has to do with figuring out the average cost per unit. Now, this problem didn't tell you how many decimal points to use. It should have told you 2, and so I need to make a note to myself that I need to adjust that sheet. It should tell you 2 decimal points, okay? All right. Okay. So, 2 decimal places. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the total number of units, or the total cost of all the units, okay? Total cost of all the units is $25,040, right? Total cost of all the units. Total number of units is 2,000, right? We got 2,000 units. So we are going to take 25,000 and we're going to 040, and we're going to divide it. 040, we're going to divide that by 2,000. And that is going to give us an average cost per unit of, let's see, 2,000 or 25,040. 25,040 divided by 2,000 gives us an average cost of $12.52. And the problem should have said round to 2 decimal points. I see it doesn't, but it should. Your problems are going to tell you how many decimal points, okay? So the average cost per unit is $12.52, okay? Average cost per unit is $12.52, all right? So if we have 650 units, so the average cost for ending inventory for 650 units, we have 650 units times 12.52. We're going to see our total cost of ending inventory using the average costing method is $8,138. Okay. All right, so that's the average costing method. And now we're going to go down to the next one. The next one is number 3. Compute the cost of goods sold using LIFO. Cost of goods sold using LIFO. Okay. So we're going to go back over to our map. We're going to say, what do we want to know? We want to know LIFO. So we're going to be working on this right-hand side. Or what type is LIFO? What do we want to know? We want to know cost of goods sold. So for LIFO, cost of goods sold is the bottom. So we're going to go from the bottom up until we get to the number of units sold. Bottom up until we get to the number of units sold. So how many units were sold? Well, let's see. They told us that we started with 2,000, right? And we had 650 in the ending inventory, right? So that means we sold 1,350 units, okay? We started with 2,000. We had 650 in the end, the problem told us. So we have a total of 1,350 that were sold. So we're doing FIFO or LIFO. We're solving for cost of goods sold. So we're starting from the bottom up until we get to 1,350. Bottom up. So we've got on the 24th, we have, let me see, I need to put the titles up there. On the 24th, we have 200 units at $1,300 and 20 cents each for a total of $2,640. We then need to go to the next line up. We've got 200, so 600 more would get us to 800. So we're going to take all of these 600. We have 600 units at $12.80 for a total of $76.80. Okay. And then we need 550 units more to get to our 1350. So we're going to go to the next line up, and you'll see on the next line up there's 800 units. Well, we only need 550 of those units. So we're going to take 550 of those units, 550 units at $12.40 each for a total of $68.20. So if we total up our total number of units, we got to our 1350. And now we are going to total up the total cost, and it is $17,140. Okay. So this is LIFO for cost of goods sold. Okay. We've got LIFO for cost of goods sold. And we have the one prior was FIFO for ending inventory. And then we had the average costing one. And then that was it. Those were the three that we had for this problem.